And welcome to this special broadcast at a special place honoring a special individual, the man of the moment. This Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the fourth Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, this being his last hurrah. Brian Obuya. An amazing day. The sun is not out yet, however, it doesn't dampen the spirits of the men and women who have served under his command for the last 9 years or so. He will be remaining with about 96 hours to hand over the reins of power and the sword that will make William Samoei Ruto the fifth Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces and other civilian units of security. Brian, this is an amazing day, an amazing moment for Kenya, and as well as the transition period as we hope to start the fifth Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces. What are some of the feeling amongst some of the men and women in uniform this morning?
We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of vigor in the morning. They came here very early in the morning because it's a very special day, of course, Leila, being the only third time it's happening whereby head of state, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is being bid farewell by all the military apparatus in the country. Of course, they have to make it one of the biggest events they are holding yet. You want to know that President Kenyatta, as we will be elaborating later on and giving reasons later on, has been one of the presidents. Actually, I think the president who has given a lot of focus to the military, the Kenya Defence Forces, and he was loved a lot by them. I've seen that in a publication they have made, writing very good stories about the man who is handing over power to the fifth president in a couple of hours okay, let's make it days, a couple of days to come. But Mr. Kenyatta, of course, goes into history as the man who held the Kenya Defence Forces very close to his heart, giving them different levels of leadership, integrating these people into the leadership of different even parastatals. He trusted them a lot. So they have a huge task ahead of them today to show that they actually, and they've said it in a number of posters, Twasema Asante. That task lies squarely on them and in a very big way today, Leila.
And I'm thinking maybe there will be some tears, although the men and women in uniform do not show emotion. Will there be crying in terms of, will they miss this Commander-in-Chief? For sure. Maybe they'll go into their small spaces and just close themselves off and cry a bit and reflect upon this moment as they bid this gentleman goodbye. One of the physical aspects where you feel Uhuru Kenyatta is where we are at. This in its entirety is Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy for the military in the 9 years that he's been here. He's been a Commander-in-Chief who has trusted his forces. He inherited the war in Somalia, and some of those aspects of how to treat the men and women in terms of wellness, much of it has come to fore in this particular stadium you see today. It's not so far from the Ulinzi Wellness Center. This is not only the home of the Ulinzi sports teams, the famous footballing team, the netball, the handball, and as well as the basketball teams, but it is this grounds that he inaugurated, and he broke grounds over a year ago, built it to where it is today. One of the many aspects of infrastructure that Uhuru Kenyatta has been able to manage for the Kenya Defence Forces. So it's sort of a last hurrah for them when they will be mounting a guard of honor. And we were here earlier and you were asking me so many questions around what that guard of honor means. Before I delve into it, maybe you can just give Kenyans a glimpse of what questions you had, and maybe they looking at home would be wondering what is happening on these grounds this morning.
And you see, Leila, some of those questions are very important. They're important because so many people may not exactly have an idea of what's going on here, because the only thing that stands out is that President Kenyatta is being bid goodbye it's a grand farewell to the Commander-in-Chief of the armed forces. But just how it's going to be taking place is the big question. Many people will be watching this thing on TV, seeing a lot of things happening. But then one of the questions that will be standing out is this. So then, why is this not a public event then?
Well, according to tradition, the military just doesn't act out of a whim. This is something that has been happening for the last 2 administrations. And in those administrations, the public has not been allowed in because ideally this is a military event to honor the service to flag and country of their commander-in-chief. So this is the last place where they will be sitting with him, engaging with him. He will be honoring a guard of honor placed here on his behalf. So it is one of those places where he will be engaging with them freely. Uhuru Kenyatta, for what it is worth, has been found ease and calm amongst these people he has commanded for the last decade or so. So ideally you cannot compare this with a national holiday of the caliber that we will see on Tuesday when there will be a handover. That is where the entire nation will be invited. But this one has been sort of, let me say, an intimate affair where the military honors their commander-in-chief in the best way possible that they only know how to do so. There's so much that will be happening, and this is something that has been planned from the day Uhuru Kenyatta was handed the sword in Kasarani Stadium in 2013. So nothing here happens by chance. They've been practicing for this day for the last 10 years. They've been wanting to understand how this day will be. What will they say? How will the meal plans be? Who will be manning what and where? Uhuru Kenyatta has been a commander-in-chief who has administrated 2 chiefs of defense forces. He came into office and was handed over the spear and the sword that literally gives him the mannerism of being the commander-in-chief by then Chief of Defense Forces Julius Karangi. He only served a year or so, and he retired having served under, having taken over Mwathethe Samson for about 5 years or so, and General Robert Kibochi is just the 3rd under Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure in office. And with these 3 gentlemen, he's been able to achieve a lot of work in terms of the welfare of the men and women in uniform. Remember as well, so much will be happening here, and in the afternoon all eyes will be going to the Department of Defense headquarters in Hurlingham area, and that will be the highlight. Kwa Kiswahili tunasema ndio kilele cha sherehe hii, manake the generals who served under his command will now drop down to the level of to their feet, and they will be moving slowly and pushing the presidential commander-in-chief open-top Land Cruiser from the officers' mess inside DOD all the way to the main gate as a means of just saying goodbye to a man whose service to them, he's really put them really close to their hearts to a certain level where it has become a political question. You and I both know that some of the decisions Uhuru Kenyatta made as commander-in-chief and really opening up the doors for the military to service delivery in the civilian stature of life has not been found really good by some of the political players. Even the current office holder of the deputy president walking into the commander-in-chief position, we want to see how different he will be treating them, because he was among the few people who really criticized how the military has been engaged by the current commander-in-chief. The NMS being one of the most hotly political spaces around the military.
Very controversial. And also